Well, it is our privilege today to introduce the Boatwright family.
I'm William Boatwright. Alex's dad. Work as a educator in Stafford County Public Schools.
And I'm Lisa Boatwright, and I also work for Stafford County Public Schools in Central Office.
And I'm Alexandra Boatwright, but I go by Alex. And I just graduated college this past May, and now I am a brand new labor and delivery nurse. So actually yesterday was my very first day of work. It went super well, and I had 2 babies, 1 boy and 1 girl. So I think it was a great way to start off my new career.
And that is a world-changing experience, I'm sure. And so we're going to talk about raising our children in the faith. And so tell us what you feel is most important in raising kids in the faith today.
Well, raising kids today it's a contact sport, first of all, and it's not one for the faint of heart or the weak. I think you can't start being a parent when they're teenagers, or you can't start. You have to. It's a daily grind. It's a daily struggle. It's making certain that we're visible with our kids, and we're not just walking the walk. We're talking the talk and doing the same things that we're asking our kids to do, and bringing them along and modeling for them. But more importantly, having a village of people around them, whether it's in church, outside of the church, that model what you want for your kids and have them to have a roadmap or a vision of where they're going to go.
The only thing that I would really add to that is making sure that you are present with your kids and listening to them, trying to be a part of their lives. And I would just reiterate what my husband said, especially about modeling the good behavior. That is hard. So we never asked our kids to do anything that we didn't do ourselves.
And I think I can definitely attest to what my parents were saying, and having them as my parents and seeing the way that they have tried to model behavior for my sisters and I, with showing compassion and being quick to listen, and not necessarily just to speak, but also to hear us and show patience and that sort of thing growing up, because I'm sure raising kids is not easy. But I think that they did a really good job of that, and that's something I'm really thankful for, especially with what they're saying, with trying to listen and really be present and attentive to what our needs were, but also showing that it doesn't have to be serious all the time. Kids can be funny and silly, and seeing adults act the same way sometimes and be silly with us, I think was really cool, and definitely something I'm thankful for growing up.
So what are some of the ways that you feel that you have been most supportive in raising your children in the faith?
What we've done, I think, as parents is to have our kids be exposed to a lot of different things, whether it was going to JP in 6th grade, or doing lead for 12 in 9th grade, or being a part of having Alex come over and play for the halftime of the basketball league. It's just exposing them to different things. We never forced them to do anything, kind of, but we always made sure they knew the opportunities were there, and that what we expected them to do, and they always lived up to that. Was it their first choice to talk at one of the kids' services? Probably not, but we always assured them they had the skill, they had the courage, and they could do it. So they stepped out and they took a leap, and that's all we asked them to do. But in kind, we had to model that too. So we taught Sunday school. We went to JP with them. I was King Neb in the play, those kinds of things. But we just to model for them what it looks like, and ask them to step out on faith as well, because they don't always have to be the leader in the group. Sometimes it's okay to follow, but it's always expected that you're going to participate and join in.
Coming off of that, a lot of those experiences were things that I really cherish. So waking up early on Saturday mornings and serving at community breakfast with my parents, or going to JP, starting off the very first time our church was exposed to JP was a weekend retreat that my mom actually came on with me. I think I was in 6th grade or going into 6th grade. Yeah, so that was one of the first times I'd ever gone on a mission experience or a service experience outside of in our community here in Fredericksburg. So having an experience like that so young, but also having my mom there with me and other leaders in the church and their kids, who were all roughly the same age. So for us to go out and to have an experience like that, and then the following summer to go on our first ever week-long mission trip, are very valuable, getting to really be the hands and feet of Christ, and participate in these acts of service, not only with other people our age, but also getting to talk to people in areas that I'd never traveled to, and meet different people from different churches and really get to worship, were really, really valuable experiences.
Did you ever receive any pushback?
You know, we never truly received pushback from the kids. Sometimes I think that what we experienced was a little bit of trepidation. So I will use like the 5th grade sermon. So we had one of them who really wanted to do it. We may have had 2 who were like feeling a little bit timid about it, but I don't think it was because they didn't want to do it. I think it was because they needed some encouragement that they could do it, and that we were in a safe space being here at church. And these are people who you know, these people who love you, people who support you. We have a church who is all about children, and this is the opportunity to share about what Christ means in your life. So I just think that they just needed a little bit of encouragement. And all of them did it at multiple services, and it was something that they really enjoyed.
So the church was there to receive you in that atmosphere of love, and you just had to say, they're ready to catch you.
Yeah, and I think even off of that, it was also a good reminder from our parents that we've been going to this church since we were kids, very, very young. So the people that are surrounding us are people that have known us and have been able to watch us grow up as the years have gone by, and have seen us transition from little kids and in the nursery or in preschool all the way up through high school, Sunday school, and then really becoming a full, not necessarily a full member, but being more regularly in attendance in our congregation. And we go to the 9:45 service. So I think that was also a good reminder as kids that these people aren't necessarily strangers. They're people that you know and that you're familiar with, and they just want to hear you share your story. So
looking at that long history of faith and service, what gives you joy now as you remember those parenting moments?
You know, the first time we came to church, we were invited actually by Karen Foster at the time. Karen invited us to church, and we came, and Alex and our youngest daughter, Erin, went down to the nursery with the berries. And when we got in the car at the end of service, they were able to tell us what they were doing in church was the same thing we were doing in church. So we knew we were in the right place. And as you fast forward and you look at the time they spent with Miss Shannon, who was the youth minister at the time, and you look at confirmation class, and you look at the opportunity to serve in JP or in Lead for 12 or some of the other opportunities they've had in the church, we just look back at that and look at the growth, not only of our kids, but we look at all the kids that were in church and all the kids that I might have been a confirmation mentor for or along those lines. And you watch those kids grow up and you feel like, man, I had a part in that. I played a part in that. And to see our kids grow with them and all of them grow into the adults or the people who they are now, it's pretty incredible to watch that. So that's, I'm really proud to see kids like, the kids grow like that.
Absolutely. What would you add to that?
I can reiterate some of the same things. It was really nice having this church as a home and as a base for us. My entire childhood has been something that I've appreciated, it being so consistent. Knowing and seeing some of the same adults here at church as I've gotten older and getting to grow not only as young adults, but also in my faith with some of the same people that I went to Sunday school with, and going through all the classes and transitions and things that go with growing up. We're like a cohort, really like a group, experiencing a lot of the same things at the same time. And so I really appreciated that, and having built those relationships and even continuing some of them now as I'm 22 years old, having graduated college, is something I really appreciate and value. And even more so to having decided to come back home and work and live here in Fredericksburg after graduating from college. It's nice to be back in my home church and back seeing some of those same familiar faces. So something I'm really appreciative of.
So how do you see her living out her faith?
I think that Alex is very kind and she is compassionate. And I think that those are all values that are part of being a good citizen. So when people ask me, you know, what did you ever have any aspirations for your kids becoming this or that? I always said, I just want them to be good citizens. But in order to be a good citizen, I think that you have to have a Christian background. I think that you have to have been raised in the faith. I think that you have to have certain traits and characteristics like kindness and compassion and being honest and being truthful. And those are all things that I think have been encouraged and cultivated here and in our family. And those are things that I see in Alex now.
I think to bounce off that, like with my parents, one thing that I've really seen in them, and I think that they have instilled in my sisters and I, is this idea of resilience. My dad and my mom, they've always said since we were kids, God never gives you something you're not prepared for. So whether that is a challenge or a battle, something that you're struggling through, or something, an opportunity you've been blessed with that maybe you're nervous about, or anything like that, it's this idea of it's okay if you're scared or if you're nervous or whatever the emotions are, but you can go through that and be with God and know that God is with you through those experiences. And just this idea of really being resilient in times of strife. But also another thing I think that they've done a good job, or something that it's stuck with me, is give it all to God, whether it's something that you're stressed about or something that is troubling you, or an exciting thing. Like for me, with starting my career as a labor and delivery nurse, or even graduating college, those are both really big things for me. But I can give that to God. He's blessed me with those opportunities and the abilities to achieve both of those things. So to Him be the glory for all of that, and for whatever I do, or whatever my sisters do moving forward.
That's so awesome. So what advice do you have for our church in how to raise the next generation of world changers?
Wow, that's a big question.
It's a loaded question.
It's huge.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, it's not an easy question. I think for us, I think the advice that I give, and I struggle with this a little bit. What we've done with our kids is we've made sure they had people, and it's a common theme here. When I had people in my life, my wife's life, who surrounded our kids with what they needed. There wasn't one of my strengths. There was one of my friends. There was some other adult or somebody else who filled that void, who could step in and be there to support Alex and Aaron and Olivia in whatever they needed to have done. We fully believe in having that village. And the one thing that I'm most proud of, or the one thing that I think that we've done really well with our kids, is give them the ability to think, to make choices, to know what's right, and have the opportunity to be independent, free thinkers. Every time they leave the house, the last thing I say to them is make good choices.
The choice is always yours.
So, and what I mean by that, when I say make good choices, that we've taught them what the right things are. And if I didn't teach them, we had a neighbor who did. Part of our village, whether it was in the church with Miss Shannon, somebody here, someone along their way, we've taught them what the right choices were. Are they always going to make the right choice? Absolutely not. And I can't say that I always did either. But they know what the right choices are. And what I say to them is make good choices and leave it to them and leave it to God, that they'll come in to do what's right and what's good and take care of their fellow humanity. Because we did teach them that it's important for us that it's not just taking care of yourself, but we have a responsibility to take care of our fellow man. And through deeds and words and service, they've been able to be a part of that, or witness it through our actions, their own actions, other people around them. So it's important for us to make sure that we do that and take care of others as well.
I think it's important that we remind them of all the things that they've learned and all of the experiences, and give them those chances, and in some ways hold them accountable. So when you've gone to JP and you have been helping out with building ramps or whatever for somebody else, I expect you to bring that back to our household too. So the same things that you did there, you can do here. So this is what you experienced. Now I'm going to need you to live that here as well. So it's responsibility, but also accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think going off of what they both said with being responsible and being accountable, making the right choices, or trying to do our best to make the right choices, I think one thing that is important for adults, and I really appreciate my parents doing this, is being patient. So kids are not always, or not necessarily kids, but young people, anyone, you're not always going to make the right choice. But when we don't, it's an opportunity to reflect on what we did wrong and try to figure out how we could change that in the future, but also having adults or authority figures in your life who are patient and understanding and are willing to help you and guide you along the way. So I think if I had a message for people who are trying to raise the next generation of leaders or of those seeking Christ or who have a relationship with Christ, is to really be patient. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It really is a journey that you're going to go on with a bunch of ups and downs, but patience and resilience, I think, are two things that are really important moving forward.
And you have great plans for your future, and you have a vision. What is that?
So I have a lot of aspirations, but one of the things I think I'm very focused on is not only my career starting out as a labor and delivery nurse, but I want to have an impact in a different capacity. So eventually, I know I want to go back to school and become a women's health nurse practitioner. It's kind of what I have my eyes on. So I can be a primary care provider for women and families and things of that nature as they work for, or as they strive towards having children, or whatever that vision may be. But in a different capacity, I think I'm also going to be able to really be the hands and feet of Christ and show God's love and show God's compassion and show patience and really be someone that people can talk to and people can trust that I will listen and guide them in whatever way possible. And I think yesterday, on my very first day of work, one of the babies I was helping deliver, the parents were playing one of my favorite worship bands. They're called Maverick City Music. And so hearing some of the songs I really love and seeing this couple singing those songs and knowing that their little baby is coming into the world, hearing the words of God and really knowing that, or seeing this couple bringing their daughter into this environment, I thought was a beautiful thing and a reminder that God really is everywhere. I thought, and I just, especially on my first day, being nervous and not really knowing totally what to expect, that was just a really good reminder to me that it's okay and He's here with me. So
What a beautiful confirmation that you were in the right place on your first day.
that's exactly what I thought.
And so you've had worked out, I hear the fruits of the Spirit in there, that you have a way of integrating your faith into the work that you have chosen. That's awesome. Any parting words?
I think it's important for your kids to always know that they're in a safe space with you. So I have one daughter, to remain nameless. Every day, just about, we would end the day with, tomorrow's a new day and all is forgiven. So you start off every day fresh.
There we go. There we go.
You know, I work in an alternative school with students who've been long-term suspended or they've been placed there for some reasons that are usually not the best in education. And every day that I walk in, I see some of the best people who made some poor choices. And we have to understand that our young people grow up very different than how we grew up. Technology is everywhere, and it infiltrates every part of their being, every part of their life. They can't get away from it. I think that they see news or hear things coming from all different directions that maybe we didn't. One of the things, and again, being proud of my kids, I think that they are able to listen to opinions, whether it's political, whether it's whatever it might be, that may be vastly different from what they may believe, but they're willing to give it a listen and to not judge you based upon what you might say, but just give a listen and to be able to maybe have whether it's a debate or a discussion with you regarding that. And I think as parents, we have to sometimes take a step back and understand that because I don't do it that way, doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that they do it a little differently than we do. Because when it comes to my iPhone, my daughters they're geniuses. They help me program that thing, where things that I might not be able to do. But in general, give a listen. Sometimes your kids they can lead as well, and sometimes they can lead you. And so give them an opportunity. Always be mom and dad, but sometimes realize that kids just may not do it the same way you do, but they may come up with the same results.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a definition of a servant leader as well, right? Well, thank you so very much. Anything else you have to add?
Oh, I
Thank
think
you.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.